And my ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. For me, it's still Sunday, but I think I'm gonna upload this to go out on Monday. I've done a video today, and in fact, I've done a lot in the last 24 hours. I did the couple of catchment cards last night. Then I edited and uploaded the vlog to the Peak District. Then this morning, I've done the three trees tarot deck, Heartwood. But somebody in chat, it might have been Robin, but forgive me if it wasn't, and you're watching this and you're the person who suggested it, about seeing a side-by-side of this deck, which I got yesterday, and I showed it in the couple of catchment cards, which is the Sacred She Tarot, with the Osho Zen, because both are by Ma Deva Padma. And I thought, yeah, actually that would be quite a good idea, because this deck has been out a long time. I want to say, okay, strike that. I've just had a look at Eclectic Tarot. Boy, do I miss Eclectic Tarot. Thankfully, all their old stuff is still up, but this was released by St. Martin's Press back in 1995. So this deck is 30 years old next year, which, you know, and I do think it stood the test of time. It's still in print. I'm not sure if it's still St. Martin's Press. I'm just having a look in the second edition book. It says 1994 in here. This version is the 2003. And it's copyrighted to Osho Media International. Original illustrations by Deva Padma. So, what I will say as well before we start is there was two versions. This is the first version, which is on a much thicker cardstock. Now I've trimmed this because I preferred it trimmed. This is on thick cardstock as well, and they're actually both exactly the same thickness, this new deck. When it was re-released, I edged this one in red to match the backs. It is a lot thinner compared to the first edition. But I kept this as is. I edged it in red, I didn't trim it. This one is not in order. I've just sat and put this one in order because this is the one I'm going to do the comparison with, being as this is borderless as well. This I've not trimmed, it comes borderless. I'm going to change the background, and then shortly I'll bring the camera down. The only other thing I wanted to say is there's going to be a size difference because this is a smaller deck anyway, the Osho Zen. Even with the untrimmed version, it's wider, but it's shorter, as you can see. So it's quite a nice size card, really. It's unmistakably, instantly kind of recognizable as Ma Deva Padma's artwork, which was the main reason why I bought this deck. This one does, for the majors, use different titles again. You'll see that we've got the Fool there, whereas we have Beginning here. We've got the Lovers. I'm trying to think if there's any others other than the Lovers and the Fool. Don't think there is. Because again, very similar to this one, it's more the essence of the card, the archetype, than the title. This one it's a 79 card deck. The 79th card is the Master, which is Osho, the Bhagwan. I don't use this card. That's why it's not here, it's separate. For me, the only time I want to see the Master in a tarot deck is if it was a Doctor Who deck. Other than that, I'm not, you know, I don't buy into that belief or that particular religion where the Bhagwan came from. Okay, so what I thought we would do is have a look at these side by side, have a look at some of the similarities and differences. There's a lot of similarities actually, as I was just putting them back together, which you might find interesting. Okay, so notice, I think I mentioned yesterday about the colour coded. So we have purple for all the majors, we have silver for the swords, blue for cups, like a red for wands, and green for the earth suit. This deck actually, even though it doesn't reference either, it's working with the elements, so it doesn't recognize wands, etc. It's fire, water, air, earth. This one, it's about the symbol. Now that's the only thing that I don't like about Osho Zen. It gets very confusing. So they all have black panels with a keyword, just like there's a keyword in this version. But the diamond shape, we have purple, which is the same for the majors, silver or grey for the swords, the same, blue for cups, which again is the same, and we have red for wands. The only difference is when we get to the pentacles, the earth suit, there's a rainbow, and it's a rainbow for earth, which I always found a little bit bizarre. I love this image. I also used to really struggle with this because the directions are, these are quartz, and it's, you know, arrows pointing in different directions, kind of like north, south, east, west, etc. And I used to have to think, you know, what it was. But once you get used to the deck and you start working with it, you recognize the archetypes in there anyway. So the color codes have stayed the same, which I think is important. For the quartz in this deck, we don't have, a bit similar to the Osho Zen, it carries on counting up past 10 to 14. So this would be our King of Swords, which, you know, it's no stretch, is it, really? Our Queen of Swords is perfection. So, yeah, I thought we could have a look at the keywords, see the similarities between the decks that are almost 30 years apart. Oh, what I should mention as well is the books. Let me lift the camera up a little bit. So the Osho Zen book and the Sacred She, both very similar, as in they are landscape type set of books. The design on the inside as well is very similar. Interestingly, this is in black and white. Now, I have got the other Osho Zen that came with this deck, and when it was first produced in 1995, that was also in black and white. Then in the 2023 version, it became a colour book, but then it had the, in my opinion, inferior cardstock. So I went on a mad search to try and get the second edition so that I would have a colour book and a better cardstock. So both similar in design, which is great. It just, I think it shows either that Ma Deva Padma was very influential in the production of this deck to make sure that it was kind of aligned to a previous tarot, or it was a clever move on the publisher's part to kind of keep them similar. Okay, let's bring the camera back down. Sorry for all the moving about, but I just wanted to mention the book. So as mentioned, we have our Fool. We have a more of a traditional type Fool here, although it really has gone over the edge and stepped off the cliff, where it's titled Beginning here, as in the beginning of the Fool's journey. I love this above the clouds, soaring high with these rainbow wings. For our magician cards, or what would be the magician cards, we have alchemy in the sacred she, and existence in the Osho Zen, which is interesting. For our high priestess, we have the unknowable and inner voice. Mother Nature and creativity. I mean, both aspects of our Earth Goddess, our Empress. Interestingly, we have Order for our Emperor and the Rebel. Now this very much leads into Buddhism, and we have to remember that the Osho Zen is a form of Buddhism, and it's the nothingness for the Hierophant. I much prefer the Wisdom Keeper here. I think it's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Our lovers and love. We have these flames merging and becoming one, a twin flame. Just trying to only focus on one card. I needed to focus on both. And then we have our lovers here. I love the love heart aspect. For our chariot, we have turning point and awareness. For strength, we have courage and compassion, both aspects of the strength card. I like this, you know, the finding, taking a lot of courage, but also a lot of strength. When you see flowers, shrubs, trees growing out of rocks, and life finds a way, doesn't it? For our hermit, these both look like monks. We have solitude and aloneness. Two sides of the same coin. Both are beautiful. I've always loved this image, but I love this one as well. Both have change for the wheel. So she's kept change even 30 years on. And that's what the Wheel of Fortune is, isn't it? The spin of the wheel brings about change. Interestingly, for our Justice card, we have balancing, and then we have breakthrough here. And I like both, really. I know some people are saying this was more temperance and temperance is more justice, and I understand that as well. I think they could have been switched. But I also get, you know, the way that you have to balance the evidence. You have to balance what's seen and not seen. And it can be a fine balance. And here's somebody standing on a feather, balancing on this point before you get your breakthrough. For our Hanged Man, we have waking up and new vision. I think both are cool. Now we have, for the Death, transitioning and transformation. One leads to the other, doesn't it? Death is a transition leading to a transformation. I like that she's used the yin and yang symbol in both cards here for the temperance. We have karma and integration. So you can see how perhaps people were thinking, well, karma would be better with in the justice position, and the justice card that was used perhaps for this, but I can see where she's going with both. The Devil card, we have repression and conditioning. I love it. I love both. We get this kind of, I guess it's a lion, but it's a very different kind of looking lion, but amongst the sheep. Whereas here we've got this face appearing through the rocks. For our Tower card, we have a crisis and we have thunderbolts. So here we have this cup with the which is overflowing with water spilling out everywhere. Both have got the lightning in there. This is the thunderbolt. Love the star cards in both. Understanding and silence. Both images have somebody with their eyes closed. We have anxiety and past lives for our Moon card. For the Sun, we have innocence and joy. I've always loved this image. I love it. We've got an older person here. Just, come on, focus on this. That's it. Just enjoying the little creature in his hands. That's it. But this one is gorgeous. I love it. It's very collagey. But I love the Rider-Waite Smith sun in the background. I love the nod to the RWS there. For our Judgment card, we have liberation and beyond illusion. That comes beyond death. And then we have wisdom and completion for our world or universe card. I've always loved this jigsaw, like the final piece, making us whole. Okay, so that's the majors, and then we have the minors, and we're starting with the sword suit. We have this multifaceted crystal here for clarity, and we have consciousness in Osho Zen. A card that people don't really like, and I understand it, is the schizophrenia card for the Two of Swords, the Two of Air. We have restraint, heartbreak and isolation, rest and postponement for the Four of Swords, interesting that we have arrogance in comparison for the Five. The Six, departure and burden. Interesting. We have deception and politics. Do we see both have two faces? We have the serpent here as well. We have a mask that's being held up on a stick, and we have politics. And here we have deception, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The 8 is blame and guilt. Nine, sorrow and fear. Grief and rebirth. Oh, sorry for knocking the camera. 11, which would be our page, is scrutiny and mind. The Knight. Some of these are not sticking together, but determination and fighting. Perfection and morality for the Queen. Never really liked the King or Queen in this suit at the Osho's End. Not quite sure why, but we have power and control for the King of Swords. And then we move into the water suit. I'm just going to have a sup of coffee. I've really loved this one, going with the flow. It's really helped me when I pulled this card in the past. Again, here we just have flow, but both the same message really. Flow and going with the flow. The 2 of Cups, often seen as our lovers, is union and friendliness. Both stunning cards. The 3, we have harmony and celebration. Frozen and turning in. That's interesting. She's in a meditative stance, and you've got all these kind of ancestors or spirits that she's connecting with. This is frozen. And I only opened this last night. I've yet to really study the guidebook that comes with this. Disappointment, clinging to the past. I mean, when you think of the 5 of Cups on the RWS, it does focus on disappointment and the loss, and looking at, focusing on the negative rather than seeing the positive. And I guess clinging to the past, it's already happened, it's spilt, the cups are spilt, it's happened, let go of it, move on. Passion and the dream. Passion is interesting for 6 of Cups. This is very RWS. We have choices and projections. We have separation and letting go. Indulgence and laziness. Not a great combination. We have gratitude and harmony for the 10. Imagination and understanding. Voyager and trust. What I would say is difference in the cardstock as well. This one it's matte, but there is a sheen to it, whereas this one is just pure matte. It's lovely, buttery. Intuition and receptivity. We have the Dream Weaver for our king, and healing. Wow, look at those two aces together. We have inspiration and the source, and it's perfect, isn't it? Both of them. We always say, don't we? Well, what was your inspiration for this? What was the source? They're beautiful. Focus, possibilities. Another image that I absolutely love in Osho Zen. We have refresh and experiencing. Whilst I do see a lot of Eastern influences in this deck, it's much more evident, as you would expect with this focusing on Zen. Dance and participation. Competition and totality. Triumph, success. Adaptability and stress. So some, like for instance the 6, triumph and success, they're, you know, two of the same thing. And then you have adaptability and stress. Really kind of makes you think about the link between the two. Self-confidence and traveling. Resistance and exhaustion. Overload and suppression. Self-expression, look at that, and playfulness. Intention and intensity. Spontaneity and sharing. Notice how both decks, though, don't give you a traditional court. And it's obviously not a concept, the courts. It's not a concept that everybody is comfortable with. We have integrity, I love this card, and the creator. And then we move on to the earth suit, which again, the aces don't have anything in them. It starts with 2 with the number in, and then you have the symbols for the what would be the courts. Never really jived with that. What I do prefer in this deck is the number and the title at the bottom, rather than how it's set out in Osho Zen. Both beautiful. Roots and maturity. I keep knocking the camera, I do apologise. Be here now, moment to moment. Perfect. Cooperation and guidance. Consuming the miser, which is interesting for the 4. Perseverance and the outsider. Now, I love this. This is probably my favourite out of all of Osho Zen. Gosh, I can't speak. Osho Zen Tarot. The 5 of Earth, the 5 of Pentacles is, as you know, a very important card to me. And I get something out of both versions. This one really gives me that sense in the RWS of the people on the outside that are a little crestfallen, out in the cold. Gives you that sense of the outsider. Here you get the cold and being outside, but persevering. Generosity and compromise. I suppose to be generous, it might require some compromise. This is more in keeping with RWS. The person who's in a position to be able to help someone else, but having to make a discernment. Timing and patience. Perfect, both. This is a gorgeous image. Just look at that. How beautiful. I could easily have that on my wall. Labour of love. And then ordinariness. I prefer labour of love. I wish this was called labour of love. You can see the beautiful and the Japanese, what are they called? Blossom cheese, the cherry blossom. We have satisfaction and ripeness. Privilege for the 10, and we are the world. We are the children. For 11, our page, we have honesty and adventure. This has a more modern Western feel. This one, as I say, more in keeping with Zen Buddhism. Explore and slowing down. Support, beautiful image. And flowering. And then this card is just gorgeous. Respect and abundance. So there you go. We have the sacred she, and I did say yesterday that I think the title of this deck could put some people off because it's not a female-centric deck. It's talking about the sacred she of the universe, really, and the sacred feminine that's in all of us, but it appeals to all genders. I should mention the backs as well. I love this. This is beautiful, and it is fully reversible as well. This one has this kind of Sanskrit writing over what looks like a mosaic of some sort. Never been too enamoured with the backs of the Osho Zen, but I really, really love this. I've got to say, I've only had this deck not even 24 hours. Well, I've had it 24 hours, but I only opened it at like 8 o'clock last night. I've done a reading with it this morning. I've just taken off. I've also got a card of the week from this. I put it back into this deck for the purpose of this video. As somebody who has loved the Osho Zen ever since I got it years ago, probably about 8 years ago now, the artwork is very familiar. And because the artwork is so familiar, this deck feels familiar because it's her artwork. And I think she's just done an extraordinary job. It does feel like she's taken Osho Zen from 30 years ago, breathed new life into it, made it more universal and more modern, but kept a lot of the style in terms of not having the traditional titles, but giving you different aspects of that archetype. And a lot of the cards, and I'd say the majority of the cards, you can see the correlation quite clearly. There's a couple of cards where I think I need to sit with it a little bit more, or perhaps have a read in the book. But overall, if it's taken 30 years to get this, then that's fine. I didn't discover this 30 years ago. I really like this, and I know I'm going to use this a lot. You know, sometimes you come across a deck and you think, actually, this really speaks to me, and I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, particularly if you've got Osho Zen. Do you think you'd get this one as well in addition to, or do you not think it offers anything in addition to Osho Zen? Or maybe you never got Osho Zen because it just didn't speak to you. Does this deck speak to you more? I'd be interested in hearing your views either way. But yeah, thank you for watching, everyone, and until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.